Build Your Business listeners. This is Matt Reynolds, your host for the podcast, and you are listening to what we are calling the legacy episodes. And really, these are the pre-episodes that really led to this podcast, the Build Your Business podcast. This is really my life's work and my brother's life's work in building your business. And so they were originally published in the Barbell Logic podcast as part of the Principles or Coaching Success series, but really touch on similar topics to the Build Your Business podcast: how to improve your productivity, how to set and accomplish your goals, deprioritize urgent tasks, to focus on what is most important to you, and most importantly, to become a better person and leader and business owner overall. I'm proud to bring you these podcasts. Again, many years of life's work, several years of podcasts, and several decades of business ownership. Hope you enjoy them and learn from them. You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. You're listening to the Barbell Logic podcast. This is another Coaching Success series episode. I'm your host, Matt Reynolds. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. I want to dive right in today, and I want to talk about New Year's resolutions. They take a bad rap, I've noticed, the last several years, especially maybe the last 10 years. I'm just going to be honest with you. I love New Year's resolutions, and I think part of it is because my life has a tendency to, I can look back over the previous year, and it was either a really good year or a really bad year. And either way, I want to either continue with the really good, or I want to change momentum and direction when it wasn't such a good year. It's probably an understatement when I have years that are not such a good year. Last year was the best year of my life. 2023, those of you who've been along for the ride since 2017, you know the years that have been good and not so good. 2019 was a terrible year. 2020 was the best year of my life. It was strange because the world went crazy in 2020, but 2023 was incredible. Really excited for the podcast that's going to come out next week with Andrew and Nikki talking about a year in review from Barbell Logic and what's going on in our lives, and then also sort of lay predictions and talk about kind of cast some vision for where we're going in 2024. And so I'm not going to focus on those things in this episode, but instead I just want to tell you, I want to fill you in a little bit on my New Year's resolutions for myself personally. And I won't be super detailed on every one of these because some of these are personal to me. As you all know, I'm pretty transparent. I'm pretty much an open book. There's a few of these things in here that are probably a little more personal than what I want to share, but I want to do this so that you have an idea of how you might lay out New Year's resolutions if you're somebody who likes this. And I've had this conversation with my wife yesterday. She does not want to lay out New Year's resolutions. And she would agree that our life is going great. And she loves that I lay out New Year's resolutions because she knows when I make a goal, I stick to the goal. And then her life is going to benefit from that because, you know, the way I eat is going to be the way she eats. And, you know, things like that. If I train consistently, she's going to train consistently. And so she feels pressure and feels like it may be a failure to her if she isn't able to meet all those goals. I have a ton of New Year's resolutions, more than I've ever had in my life, broken them up into different categories, which I'll talk about here shortly. And I know that for me, I know that I'm not going to do all these perfectly. And I know that some of them I'm going to fail on, but I'm going to cast vision and go after it in my own life in the same way I do in my business or my family or my church or whatever. These are important to me to help keep me focused on where we're trying to go between now and the end of this year of 2024. So, and by the way, if I don't hit all these goals, it just doesn't bother me that much. Now, if I fail at all of them, of course it's going to bother me. But if, you know, a failure to plan is planning to fail. And so I have a plan for my life. And with 2023 being so great, lost a ton of weight, lots of success in business and life and whatnot, and family's going really well. Like, we're just in a great place. I want to continue that and certainly control what I can control. And there's things I can't control in life. But for the things that I can, I want to do the best I can to continue this moving in the right direction and picking the ball up and moving it down the field. And so I have broken up my New Year's resolutions into 5 major categories: physical New Year's resolutions, business New Year's resolutions, material New Year's resolutions, spiritual New Year's resolutions, and family resolutions. And again, I'm not going to dive into super detail on every one of these, but I just want to give you an idea how I do it. That doesn't mean you have to do it. Maybe you only have 2 or 3. That's fine. And if I look at mine, I've got 20 on here. but they all kind of coincide with each other. So let's talk about the physical, because that's really why you came to the podcast in the first place, right? So for me, again, I lost 60 pounds last year. I'm down about 52 over the holidays. I gained probably 7 or 8 pounds. And so I'm not very happy with that. But if you told me last year on January 1 of 2023 that I wouldn't be 300 pounds, but that I would be 245, I would be pretty dang excited. And so I have to remember that while I've been 235 or 237 in October or so of this year, that I'm still starting the year in a really good spot. I'm taking my wife to Mexico here in a few days, and we're just going to have a great time, just me and her. So I'm excited for that. So I have a goal to get my body weight down to 225. I haven't seen 225 since about 2001. So it's been a long time. It is within grasp for me this year, certainly. I know the weight will come off a little slower, certainly, than it did last year, because I have much less weight to lose. I'd like to get my waist down to 35 inches. I've been able to get under the 40-inch mark, and I'd like to push it towards 35. I think any smaller than that, it's going to be too small. So somewhere in that ballpark. A big thing for me is I want to have workout consistency. One of the things that I probably am the least happy about this year in 2023 was my workout consistency. So while I ate very consistent, I lost a bunch of weight, I am kind of all in or all out, as my coaches know that coach me both in strength and nutrition. And consistency is tough for me. On the nutrition side, there were many times I was fully focused for months on end. And then I would sort of flounder a little bit, but I wouldn't start eating a ton of junk, and I wouldn't overeat. And so I was able to, go through periods where I would lose some weight and then maintain, and maybe looking back, that was maybe even more sustainable than just losing all the time. And so the big thing for me, though, is that workout consistency for me drives nutrition progress, because I love to train. And when I train, then I eat to fuel the training. And when I don't train, my eating is to satisfy something else. It's for taste or pleasure, or, the alcohol kicks up when I'm not training. And so I'd like to get 250 workouts in 2024. I'd like to train 5 to 6 times a week. And that doesn't mean heavy weights. So some of those, it's just going to be cardio sessions, but I just want to establish the habit of every day other than Sunday trying to train and get something in. And so 250 workouts in 2024 is a big goal for me. I enjoy tracking my macros, and I know some of you hate it. And if you hate it, don't do it. I am a type A gamified sort of guy. So I like to track my macros. So I'm going to track my macros for 365 days. I'm recording this on Tuesday, January 2nd. I tracked yesterday. I trained. I did all the things I was supposed to do on the first day of the new year. I didn't use the holiday as an excuse and say, I'll start tomorrow. I got after it, tracked my macros, and all was good. I want to eat 80% of all my meals I want to have cooked from home. And that still may be a low number for some of you, but with our busy schedule and as much as we travel, 80% is a lot. And then just be mindful when I don't eat, home cooked meals, to choose well when I eat out. Actually went with my in-laws we got a really cool, nice pizza joint here in town, sort of a hipster pizza place. And, got a cauliflower crust, thin crust pizza, and chicken breast and prosciutto and some fresh mozzarella. And so, I made good choices even there. Even going to eat pizza, I don't have to just hammer like a giant greasy meat lovers pizza deep dish, full of fat and grease. I would love to get all of my PRs within 85 to 90% of my all-time best. And again, that's kind of a weird number, because remembering that I was a high-level powerlifter and a professional strongman, the chances of me ever deadlifting 700 again are low. But having a deadlift over 600 pounds is absolutely doable, as well as, rep ranges and the other within 85 to 90%. I think I've got some PRs out there, certainly in the volume side. So hitting some PRs for sets of 8 or sets of 10 or sets of 12 is doable. Big one for me this year is I want to have a 90% reduction in alcohol consumption. And so 2023, not a great year again, there were times where I was all in and I would go weeks on end and not have a drink. And then other times I just, it's just too much. Again, not getting drunk, and I'm not angry, and I don't yell at my wife and kids, but it's just the calories. And ultimately I see alcohol as a thing that doesn't really do anything to help me meet any of my resolutions in my life. It makes me a little less present. It makes me a little less sharp in business. It certainly makes it more difficult to lose weight. And so again, I don't think alcohol is bad, but for me, I need to really curtail it. And so it's a big New Year's resolution for me. So there you go. There's some transparency, some vulnerability. And then the others are just with like blood work. I've got blood work several times during the year last year. Things were very good. I still have a few things that are outside the normal range I'd like to bring into. So blood work with every single thing in that normal range. And the other thing that I've wanted to do for a long time is get a calcium score test, which just tests basically the plaque buildup in your arteries, just to see where I'm at, just to see what sort of risk factor I have for heart disease, or heart attack at some point. Hopefully that's a very low number. But those are all my physical New Year's resolutions. And so I'm excited to move forward with those, right? And of course, took a big focus on recovery last year. I got a sauna and a cold plunge, and I got a 8 sleep, and I have a sleep mask now that I wear that also has built-in Bluetooth kind of headphones that are flat. You can lay on the side and it doesn't poke your ear with the earphones. And so a lot of that like sleep hygiene and recovery are in a pretty good place. And I want to obviously continue that. And it's funny. It's like when I'm not training very hard, what am I trying to recover from? I guess it's the stresses of everyday life and business. And so, hopefully that recovery stuff will continue, but I'll actually be recovering from hard training as opposed to just the stress of life. So those are my physical New Year's resolutions. Business, again, some of these I'll kind of hold back, but we're in the process of closing our Series A round, and that will close soon. So just to fill it and close it, and we're close there and everything's gone really well, but it'd be nice to have that completed and move forward with the growth of the business. Have some exciting announcements to make, which I'll talk a little more on the next week's episodes with Nikki and Andrew, but excited to announce we signed a deal with Forbes to publish my book, which a lot of you have asked for many years. It's very difficult to get a big company like Forbes to publish the book. So it'll be in every Barnes & Noble and Hudson News and the airports, and of course, Amazon and anywhere that you can buy books. Every bookstore basically will carry it. And it'll be called Undoing Urgency, Leveraging Minimum Effective Dose for Maximum Impact. So the Minimum Effective Dose book is finally coming out. It's not purely focused on strength training and physical. It's minimum effective dose for maximum impact in business, health/fitness, strength, and life, and how I leverage that minimum effective dose and undue urgency to focus on the important stuff. It will certainly be some theory in there and how we do it, but also we'll get into the trenches and give lots of examples of how we do that. So I'm super excited for that. That'll come out about Christmas next year. The goal is to have it out for the holidays. And so in the process of writing the book and working really hard with my editor-in-chief, Nick Solin, who's been fantastic there, and helping get that book out. So it's a big business goal for 2024 for us. Also exciting news that I won't go into tons of detail on because I'm sure we'll talk about it on the podcast next week. But we've been chosen by a couple TV shows, both Viewpoint on PBS with Dennis Quaid and Balancing Act on Lifetime with Montel Williams, which is not the talk show that he had in the 80s. He's got an educational show, basically. I think it's Lifetime's longest running show. So we will shoot those in February in South Florida. And so appearing on those TV shows, looking great, being in great shape is going to be important there. And so excited to do those TV shows this year. And then really to cross the chasm for TKC, onboarding and product market fit. And again, we'll get into that more, but TKC has been a very successful venture for us in 2023. And we haven't really crossed the chasm yet. We've got a lot of, I think we're about 115 coaches now using Turnkey Coach, not counting the Barbell Logic coaches, but those are still early adopters. And so being able to really bring it to market in a way where it just crushes would be a huge business goal. So those are some of the major business goals that we have, or that I have for this year. And then have some material goals. And it's really just because we've been blessed and been put in a good place to really start to think about long-term financial health. And so we're in the process of, paying off our mortgage and student loans and things like that. Should be able to finish that out this year and have zero debt whatsoever, which, we don't have any car loans or credit card debt or anything like that. So it's just the mortgage and student loans at this point. So getting those taken care of. I've worked a lot with a estate attorney to set up things like last will and testament, power of attorney, a trust for the family, big life insurance policies, things like that. So all that kind of stuff is there. And then just some simple home renovation stuff that I won't get into, but just simple, renovating some rooms and doing some stuff. And then one goal that I had that Rachel's very excited about is I would love to go to Europe this year. So I'm going to try to find a time, maybe in the fall, to go to Europe. I got to go to England and Scotland a few years ago. It was the trip of a lifetime. Would like to go to Europe. So for those of you listening, our European friends, hopefully I'll get to come see you this next year. And whether that's France or Greece, got several different places that are on the list. Italy, for sure. Like those are probably our top 3. Goal would be to get to at least one of those this year. So those are some of the material goals. Have spiritual goals too. And for those of you that are not into this, that's totally fine. Hopefully you've got at least some sort of mental, spiritual health, even if you look at it from kind of a 30,000 foot view. My goal is to read through the entire Bible in 2024. I've read the entire Bible several times. It's been a while. I've got good knowledge of it, but I've got these little pockets of things that I've forgotten. And so I like to do that. I don't know that you all know this, but I've been able to preach a couple times at my church twice now over the last few weeks. I like to preach 10 times or so in 2024. I really enjoy that and just live a life worthy of that, of, a pastor or elder. I'm not a pastor or elder at my church. I hope maybe to be one day. And so many things have changed in my life to move that direction. Again, I've been pretty open and honest about those things. And so just being intentional with my family, just having good conversations and family worship and things like that, and discipling guys from church and whatnot. So those are all, again, I won't go into super detail because I know a lot of those are personal and it's kind of outside the realm of what we do here on this podcast. But you guys know that stuff is important to me. If it's important to you, I would say make some resolutions and some goals this year there. And the last thing for me is just family stuff. And so some intentional stuff with, my relationship with my wife, go on a date night once per week with my wife. Our goal there is to schedule it the same night every single week, to calendar it so we go on date night once a week, every week, Wednesday night or something, which is important. My 18-year-old, who's about to be 19, she's in cosmetology school. She's incredible at what she does. She'll graduate from school this year and start a full-time job. And so helping her navigate that and probably help her set up a business plan for her as well. She's got a pretty serious boyfriend now who's also finishing barber school and setting up a business plan for them. Taking my younger daughter, who's 13, on a daddy-daughter dates twice a month is important to me. And so those are some things that I'm very intentional about. And so you can see that I've got a lot of things, but for me, and this is good, this works for my personality. So if it doesn't for you, that's totally fine. But I've got very clear goals, a lot of clarity in my goals for what I want to accomplish physically this year, what I want to accomplish in business, the material things, just set us up. We're playing the long game, right? So it's not about, just making a bunch of money, and it's really about looking to do well and steward our finances well, not just in the next year or two, but really for the rest of my life, and set my family up well in places that we can. Certainly my spiritual life has become more and more important to me over the last several years as I've gotten older. I turned 45 here in about another month. And then of course, family is the most important thing. So you can really see that there are things that we're attacking, knowing my general core values of focusing on important things, to lay out these things that are the most important so I don't get caught up in the urgency of the things that either aren't important or just urgent and important, and it pushes this important stuff out. And so I think New Year's resolutions are great because it helps focus you on the things that are truly important and what matters to you. You can continue to keep your eyes on the goalpost and try to move the ball down the field. And so that's the goal for me for 2024. It also adds some accountability for me now that I'm putting it out there into the ether. Some of you are going to listen to this and be like, you're crazy for having 25 things or whatever I've got on this list. But it works for me and I enjoy it. I enjoy new beginnings. I'm excited for 2024. I'm excited for what's going on. It's been a while since I've been in a good spot physically. Business is incredibly healthy. We've been extremely blessed financially, spiritually, church, my life there, my relationship with the Lord and with my family, both immediate family and extended family relationships, fantastic. And so, man, I just don't want to screw this stuff up, to be honest. I don't want to drop the ball. So I'm focusing on getting better every single day in 2024. I know there's going to be days that I don't. I get up each morning and God's mercies are new every morning. And so you pick up the ball and you carry it down the field another couple yards. That's the goal. So hopefully this has been somewhat inspirational to you, or you hear this and you're like, yeah, this makes sense. And so I would challenge you, if it fits your personality, to lay out some of these New Year's resolutions and clarify the goals of what you plan to go after this year. And so let's make 2024 the best year of our lives. It's certainly the things that we can control, and we can't control everything, right? So we don't know if tragedy is going to strike this year, but I can't control that. My goal is to keep my head down and do the stuff that I can do and I have control over, and the stuff that I don't. I think if I do these things well, the stuff that I do have control over, I'll better be able to handle the stuff that I don't. We've talked about this many times. This is why voluntary hardship is so good, because it prepares you for involuntary hardship. So if hard times come, and we know on some level they will, some years much more than others, then we just want to be better prepared to handle those with wisdom, grace, and honor and dignity. And so that's the goal here. And so happy New Year to you. I hope 2024 is a wonderful year for you. I hope you chase after and accomplish those goals. And remember, this is the other thing. The process of chasing after the goals is really where the good stuff is. It's not actually in accomplishing the goals, right? Taking my body weight from 245 to 225. Am I going to wake up the morning I'm 225 and be like, I did it, I hit it, this is wonderful? Like, probably not. It's actually the process of getting through it. That's that refining process of going from 245 to 225, or taking your waist from, 39 inches to 35 or 41 to, depending on where you're at, like whatever it is. That process, like, enjoy the process. It's not about crossing the goal line as much as it is enjoying the process. This is what I loved about hearing from Michael Jordan in The Last Dance and in the books written about him. He just loved practice. He took it as serious as the seventh game of the championship. He was competing all the time. And that's really the overarching goal for the New Year's resolution. Like, just get up every day and compete. Get up and do these things to the best of your abilities, knowing that you're not going to do them perfectly every single day. But that's okay because we're playing the game. We're in the process. We're trying to take the ball down the field. Again, to stick with the football analogy, sometimes you throw the pass and the wide receiver misses and he doesn't catch it. Sometimes you throw the ball. Sometimes you get sacked in the backfield. Like all those things happen, but we get up another day. We try to take the ball down the field a little more. Right? Next down, here we go. And so that's the way I approach these, not to set myself up for failure because I know I'm not going to hit every one of these, but to enjoy the process in trying to get there. Again, Happy New Year to you all. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for giving me so much of your time the last several years. Enjoy doing the show. Super excited to talk to Andrew and Nikki next week about sort of a year in review, 2023, and looking forward to 2024. So that'll be coming up. And then I recorded a podcast with Scott last week, and that'll be coming out here in another couple weeks, I think 2 weeks from today, about business ownership. Do you own a business or do you own a job? And so tease that out a little bit. Scott coming back to the podcast for an episode, and we'll have him on some more this year as well. We've got a lot of stuff we want to talk about again. And so again, it's been great kind of rekindling the relationship with the Hambricks, and they finally got their house built and they've got the, the farm, and things have slowed down a little bit for them. He would say not, because I'm sure he still gets up and, he's building fence and herding cows every day, but he's not building a house anymore, which I know is an enormous stress for him. So excited to have him on the show some more. So we had a great conversation last week, and that'll show up here in a couple weeks on the podcast. So look forward to that. Man, I'm going to enjoy Mexico next week. So you guys have a blast for the first part of New Year's. Hey, let's hit the ground running. Let's get some good workouts in. Let's focus on some PRs. Let's tighten up the nutrition. Think about those other things in your life: family, spiritual, business. How are you going to move the ball down the field in 2024? All right, that's another episode of the Barbell Logic Podcast Coaching Success Series. As always, we would love a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast, especially Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Love to hear just some feedback. Shoot me an email or leave a review, a 5-star review on one of those podcast sites. I go back and look at those a couple times a month. I always love reading through those. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you Tuesday with Andrew and Nikki, and then again next Friday. I think we're going to do a double episode series, and excited for what's to come in 2024. Have a good one, everybody.